All right. Welcome, everybody, to the special executive board meeting on May 9th, 2026 at 10 a.m. It is 10:01 a.m. and I call the meeting to order. I certify a quorum of our board members, so thank you all for joining us. I'd like to just do, first of all, introductions of the board, and then we have a number of guests here today, which is fabulous. So I'm Nancy Vandell, chairperson, and could board members please introduce themselves?
I'm Michael Beachley, a parliamentarian. I have no conflicts.
Candace Miller,
I'm Alex
secretary,
Clark.
no conflicts.
So, this is Alex Clark, vice chairperson, and I have no conflicts.
Randall Cook, chair of the community planning subcommittee, and I have no conflict.
Susan Schomburg, chair of the outreach task force, no conflict.
Wyatt Angelo, temporary chair of the bylaws committee, no conflicts.
You are not temporary. You are official. Good try. Okay, thank you, and I have no conflicts. Could our guests please introduce themselves, and thank you for joining us this morning.
I'm Tom Perhodich. I live in South Beach and Escalon.
Thank you. Brian?
I'm Tom Sipe. I live up the hill from the other town.
Brian Batchelder and Suzanne Gowan. We live on the knoll in South Beach.
Great, thank you. And Vicki?
Vicki Perhodich. I'm with Tom.
Right. And Anne?
And I'm Anne Syke, live on, I'm Tom's cohort.
Yes, great to see you, Anne, or not see you, but hear you, Anne. And then Alex introduced himself, and then there's a telephone number here. Would you care to introduce yourself? Okay, sounds like not. Okay, so
I might be on I'm on the telephone, Nancy. I'm sure you can see. I can't see anyone.
Yes,
I'm not sure if there's another number.
Yeah, there's another number here. But thank you. Okay, so so this is a special executive board meeting. You all saw the announcement, and I want to thank the executive board for taking a Saturday to discuss this issue. I want to actually just put up the agenda. I just did an updated one today after having done some research. So can everybody see the agenda? Yeah. Make it bigger here. So we're going to make this fairly casual. We have public comment, member comment toward the end, but please feel free to discuss. So we're going to be here for a special meeting, which means that we can only discuss this topic, which is the consideration of the Tillamook County proposed fireworks ordinance. We'll go through some background, a process for considering this, some documents about them, some questions we have still, and then discuss whether we want to take a position on the ordinance, and if so, whether we want to set up a meeting for the membership. So we'll talk about that and another action plan, and then public comment. And then at the end, we'll take some kind of a vote, and that's unclear at this point, and then have a meeting action item summary and adjourn. You'll see in the agenda, which is in the meeting packet, that there's a link to the ordinance and a link to the public hearings that are scheduled for later this month. Are there any comments on the agenda? Okay, the agenda is approved. So Susan, would you mind taking minutes? There is an AI that should make it easier, but would that be okay?
Yeah, let me grab some paper here.
Okay, and I'll send you the video. Hopefully they will be short. Okay, so going back, just to mention the documents. In the meeting packet, which all of you should have access to, that's on and thank you, Candace, for setting up the meeting. They're on the events page of our NCAC website. We have the article that Wyatt sent us about an article in the Tillamook County Pioneer from the sheriff about why he was proposing this ordinance. And we have the fireworks ordinance in the city of Lincoln City in there. And then some questions that have come up about the Tillamook County proposed ordinance. So I'm going to stop share at the moment, but just go through a little bit about the process. So we were sent a notification by Sarah Absher. All of the CAC chairs were sent a note a week ago, Friday evening, about this proposed ordinance and 2 hearings that are being offered to the public to provide input to the Board of Commissioners about the ordinance. And so because of meeting notice requirements, we scrambled via email to set up this special meeting today to decide whether we feel like this ordinance is something that we would like to take to the membership for comment. And without having a lot of information other than the ordinance itself and the hearings. And then that would allow us to schedule, if we decide today, a special meeting of the membership 14 days from today for the membership to consider this. So in the bylaws and in the policies, procedures, and references, we have a formal procedure laid out on how the NCAC can take a position to recommend something to the county or to any other entity. And so that's what we're following here, is to be able to make these decisions. It didn't really rise to the level of urgency like we've had in the past for us, like FEMA, because we do have time. The second public hearing is actually on May 28th in the evening, at 6 o'clock. So we have time. If we have a board meeting 2 weeks from today, a membership meeting 2 weeks from today, that would be May 23rd. And we could then have a position voted on and potentially a letter to be able to present at that meeting on the 28th. Also, between now and the 23rd, we have our regular scheduled board meeting on May 20th. It was actually coincidentally moved because of people's time scheduling. We moved it a week earlier than normal, and that worked out well because on May 20th, we can go back and decide after some questions are answered further whether we want, more wording for a letter and more of a recommendation. And that's also open to members. So that's kind of the process that we're going through today. I invited the Community Plan Steering Subcommittee to weigh in on this because they've discussed this as they've developed their community plan. And a couple of years ago, when they were having some member hearings, this issue had come up, and it was in one area of safety in the community plan. And Ran and the Community Plan Subcommittee graciously provided time at their meeting last Monday, which again, coincidentally, was good timing. And a number of questions were raised. So this isn't just a slam dunk kind of a thing. There were quite a few questions and great discussion over this issue. And thank you, Ran and the subcommittee for this. And Tom Sipe had also put together a draft that was based on the community plan as well. So that's kind of some background. And if it's okay, I'd like to go through some of those questions. But before we do that, does anyone have any questions about the process at this point or any comments? Okay, so in the executive board meeting, it's just the executive board members who will vote, but we will be considering input from all of you before we get to that point. We may or may not take a position. So, it's going to depend on that discussion. So let me just bring up the list of questions. Okay, can everybody see that okay? And this is in your meeting folder. So these are questions that came out from the Community Plan Subcommittee meeting, and also just questions that I've had, that other members have had. We have gotten quite a bit of interest from this. A few members have emailed with some input. But one of the key question that came out was how would the ordinance be enforced in Neskowin? Do we have the capacity to be able to go in and would there be sheriff's department people, whatever? And I guess some background has been that fireworks on the beach have been an issue. But we were hearing that some people love the fireworks on the beach. Other people feel like they're a hazard and that the cleanup issue, they can affect wildlife, et cetera. So what would the ordinance be? Are there any plans to provide signage or other notifications about the ordinance as a deterrent? If Neskowin Beach is state property, would the ordinance include the beach, or is it mainly addressing unpermitted fireworks in other areas? The ordinance reduces the infraction from a misdemeanor to a Class C violation. Why is this being done? Has there been consideration of an ordinance similar to Lincoln City's, which is also in the meeting folder, which bans all types of fireworks, including sparklers in all areas that are unpermitted? I think Lincoln City actually is planning a big fireworks display over Devil's Lake this year. But otherwise, there are no plans. Has Tillamook County considered hosting a drone show instead, or its own official fireworks show? Could this ordinance be added to the information required to be provided to short-term rental renters? So those are some of the questions that have come up, and you may have more to add to this list. At this point, I had contacted Sarah Absher to find out more about the ordinance, and she said that that it's not from the Community Development Department. And this is before I saw the sheriff's article, and thank you to Wyatt for sending that. That it came out of, it's between the Board of Commissioners and basically the sheriff, and to submit these questions to the commissioner, which I did, and I have not heard anything back yet. So that makes it a little difficult to determine what's happening. One question that came up that's not on this list that Sarah did answer is, why is it considered an emergency ordinance? And she said that's because any other ordinance that's not declared emergency requires 90 days to take effect. And that would take us past the holiday time when the fireworks this year would be in play. So other than that, though, these questions are open. At the bottom of this page is input from the community plan draft. And so can everybody see this, or does it need to be bigger? Okay, but this is what's currently in the draft of the community plan. So many Neskowin residents are concerned about the danger of unsupervised fireworks. These unbridled displays of celebration have negative effects on the cleanliness of beaches, as well as disturbing wildlife. Fireworks often present a fire hazard and also often contain harmful chemicals that subsequently fall to the earth or the ocean in our community, causing pollution. They'd like to provide for a safe and non-intrusive method of community celebrations, ban non-permitted use of fireworks within the boundary, encourage non-explosive, more digital ways to celebrate, such as in Lincoln City, hire additional sheriff patrols on key dates, partner with STR managers on firework restrictions. They should be required to include both the practical restrictions and the text of the new ordinance in the renter's information packet. And the NCAC also encourages required cleanup of fireworks debris to be added to the ordinance. And in fact, Lincoln City has in their plans a cleanup day on July 5th to have a community cleanup of the fireworks at Devil's Lake. So this input from the community plan draft, this is a draft. It has not been approved yet. It's still going through the process, but it is what we have so far that from input from the community. So are there any questions about any of this?
I do have a question. How are we defining fireworks?
That's in the great question, Susan. That's in the code. Oregon defines fireworks and other kinds of explosives in the code that's listed in the ordinance. And let me just bring up the ordinance. But before we bring up the ordinance, does anyone have any other questions about this? But it basically goes back to Oregon law.
Oh, I do, Nancy. So I think I read part of them. I think for here, I thought illegal fireworks were aerial fireworks and anything like M80s, those type of explosive fireworks. I don't know, like sparklers or personal fireworks they're probably allowed, I'm guessing. The other thing that you could add is that it is harmful to wildlife, but also there's a lot of people who have pets here, and pets get really, really bad when those fireworks go on and on, like they do in the fort. They go on and on forever. And I'd like to, if there's anything, I guess,
Right now we're just going through the background, but yes, I would appreciate anything you'd like to add to the questions. I'm going to bring it up in the word form here. I know I have it here somewhere.
let's see.
Well, I thought I had it in the word form.
Well, this would be more specific. I've already made my public comments and things I think they should add. So I don't want to add anything to this. So, because this is just on the proposed current ordinance, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But with
Here-
that said, Candace, we don't have to just say yes or no on the ordinance that we support it or we don't. We can suggest if we want to have it made stronger or have some other things added. That doesn't mean the county's going to listen, but we can provide that. We can certainly provide that kind of input.
Okay.
This is what the statutes say. There are two statutory provisions. And I would want to check behind this, but this is AI, and I think probably right. The two statutes provide that it's illegal to sell, possess, or use fireworks that fly into the air, explode, or travel more than 12 feet horizontally on the ground, or 6 feet, depending on local interpretation. Popular banned items include firecrackers, Roman candles, bottle rockets, and sky lanterns.
Okay, thank you.
I'll look at the statute to be sure that that's in fact what it says.
So sparklers are okay and until you throw them.
Yeah, at the grasses and behind the beach.
Sparklers and fountains.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to actually bring up the ordinance here.
Yeah, it gives two.
Am I sharing the ordinance?
Yeah.
That's Lincoln City.
Yeah.
You're just seeing an index. Okay. Let me just stop share.
I think the bigger thing is, does it count? Are they going to enforce any of this ordinance on fireworks on the beach? That's usually OPRD. So I don't know if this new ordinance will cover that. Like you said, I think in one of the questions, is it only covering everything but the beaches?
Right. So, and Brian Batchelder in the chat says, is there any reference to loudness, which is really what affects wildlife and pets? So, I don't think there was.
No, but those explosives are pretty much in that category of high decibel concussion type. Because I'll just say this, like in, I think in March 21st, someone was at 4 p.m., no, 3 o'clock, they were shooting off M80s on South Beach. And then, those are considered the aerial loud. And then up in the North Escalon, someone was shooting a gun. So I called that one in. So, obviously, firearms aren't allowed, but they were shooting off firearms for some reason.
Right. So this is the ordinance itself. It's it actually reduces everything from a misdemeanor to just a violation, a Class C violation, and it doesn't say a lot. It really refers back to the Oregon state law that is already in effect, but it does prohibit the possession, sale, and or use of consumer fireworks, except for as authorized by law or ordinance to ensure the safety of the public from the danger of explosives and hazards. And it authorizes enforcement of these prohibitions and establishes penalties for violations. So those penalties are strictly fines. And it applies to all unincorporated areas of Tillamook County, plus incorporated and consented. And they use the definitions for ORS Chapter 480. And the possession, and again, possession and or use of consumer fireworks is defined at ORS 480.111, which shall include using, discharging, exploding consumer fireworks is prohibited except as authorized by law or ordinance. Sale is of consumer retail fireworks is prohibited except for with a valid retail sales permit. Prohibitions under this section do not apply to a fireworks display that is issued under a public display permit. An enforcement officer hereby may cite a person for any violations of this ordinance daily, and they can also confiscate, destroy, remove, or have removed at the owner's expense all fireworks violation of the section. So the fines are presumptive fine of $165, maximum fine of $500, minimum fine of $85 plus costs. So
it's
that's
not very
basically
specific.
it.
Nancy, it's not very specific on a location. It just says unincorporated areas of Tillamook. So
Right.
I don't know if it's going to, it may not include the beaches, which for us kind of really doesn't impact us at all.
So that was one of our questions is, does it include the beaches? So Lincoln County's or Lincoln City's does include the beaches, but I don't know if there's a state beach like Nesquins is. So those are all questions. Carol.
All beaches, Nancy, all beaches on the coast are state beaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Thank you. Could the ordinance restrict fireworks to July 4th? Fireworks go on for a week to 10 days. Yeah, I think the fireworks ordinance is for any time. I didn't see any restriction to July 4th.
So. I like to see a curfew also, if they even allow it, but I don't know.
Okay, so let me share actually that document that I did finally pull up to get the questions, Candace, and anybody else is to add to this list of questions. Just have to find it on here because it's hiding behind other things. There it is. Oh, except that pulled up. That did not pull up the right one. I'm just going to go back here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Let me get the Word document. So basically, as I'm trying to find that and we can get these questions out, to me, the big question for today is, do we want to tackle this at all? Do we want to take this to the membership on the 23rd and see whether the membership would like us to take a position? And by that time, hopefully we would have a position to offer. We would have these questions answered. Or do we just want to let it go and we can communicate it? People can still put in their opinions individually for the ordinance. So let me capture what we had. Candace, you had you had a question about, or you wanted to have something in the draft about pets or something.
Yeah, I could go maybe on
really
number one. You said many are concerned about wildlife as well as harm to wild. And there's also people who don't like all those explosions. Yeah.
And people, veterans, sometimes who've been in wars.
Yeah.
Two things, Nancy. It turns out that the state fire marshal is responsible ultimately for enforcement. I just sent you a internet link to Oregon.gov fire marshal that describes what's legal and illegal.
Thank you, Tom.
The second thing is the basic statute, ORS 480.120, says that it applies to all and any fireworks within Oregon. I think the beaches count.
Yes. Yes, I think that you're right. The question was more about enforcement, but that's interesting about the state fire marshal. So all of you who are more familiar with Oregon, would that mean that the state fire marshal would have people that could come out to the beaches and enforce? From what I've heard, it would take a couple of truckloads of of
Yeah, I mean,
officials to really
Maybe-
take care of this in reality on the beaches.
Maybe we can get ICE to,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
loan us some
God.
people.
Let's get ice. Actually, Nancy, several times a year, I call the state sheriff because Tillamook County won't take that call. 'Cause it's, and they said, well, we'll take it down. We might be able to send somebody there, but probably by the time we get out there, the perpetrators are going to be done. So they log it. They don't really do anything. That's the question I think you have about how are they going to enforce that? And also another thing, we worked with OPRD one summer to put signs up. They weren't permanent. They weren't temporary. All of them were taken down and burned. So
oh, really?
yeah,
Interesting.
they don't care because especially July 4th, there's a lot of drinking that goes along with these explosions. So they really don't care what they see and what you tell them. So that's why I'm kind of, not very optimistic they're going to be able to enforce this ordinance on the beaches, maybe in neighborhoods,
Right.
but probably not here unless they do what Lincoln City did, which is a straight out fireworks ban. But that's, being here out, for the last 11 years, that's what we've experienced. So,
yeah.
We watched it on July 4th last year, and I was reminded clearly of the invasion of Normandy. There was so much explosion and rocketry and so on and so forth. And what occurred to me right away was the damage that's being done to veterans who experience PTSD. And this kind of explosion sets off that kind of response. And it's pretty damaging to a lot of people, not just pets.
Not only that, but people with autism are somewhat sensitive to this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Do you have any other things to add to the questions at this point? In fact, I'm going to do this as a save to another version. Thank you, Tom. So I know you're thinking it.
Hey, Nancy, you mentioned something that somebody said, a comment, that maybe they could just, if they allow permitted fireworks, that it can only be maybe only allow fireworks on July 4th or certain days.
Right. That was what somebody wrote.
Somebody wrote that.
Carol wrote that in the chat.
Might as well shoot
Could
for
it
them
be
to that.
divided
I'd go for that because one time I think one September at 1:30 in the morning, they were shooting them off. So they just shoot them off anytime they want. I'd like to see more of a restriction on when they can shoot off fireworks, if they're going to allow them.
So Carol, you wrote that comment. Were you asking if we could have something in the ordinance where they're allowed on July 4th, maybe in certain hours, and then prohibited other times? Is that what your intent was?
Yes, I also think that they last way too long. When I had a dog, it was, maybe a week to 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks of constant barrage. And I agree that we have a lot of veterans that have come to the coast for a quiet, good place to live. And it's very upsetting for them around July 4th and around New Year's, which is another time that people seem to come over and decide to shoot off fireworks in our neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great.
The only question I would have is why it's being reduced in penalties. It seems to me, that that's tacit permission to, go ahead. It's only going to cost you
I think I can answer that.
Yeah.
Wyatt had found something else that he would. Yeah, could you go ahead and talk about that, Wyatt?
There's a lot of background here that is not apparent in the ordinance itself or the sheriff's article. But it doesn't reduce the state law. It only basically creates a penalty assessment procedure for county ordinance violations. The state law is still enforceable at the option of the law enforcement agency that's handling whatever the given situation is. So the officer has the option of writing the penalty assessment or speeding ticket is what I call it, or in fact, the misdemeanor. For those who are unfamiliar with the criminal justice process, I will just tell you that many of these types of cases are unprovable beyond a reasonable doubt. people disappear, witnesses don't want to talk, evidence is scarce, and our sheriff's department is probably down, I would say 15 of their sworn positions. The problem that you end up having is if you take this to a court as a misdemeanor, it requires a jury trial. It requires a district judge. It requires a proof beyond reasonable doubt. And it's kind of like, to me, a parking ticket, which is that you can't prove something like that often beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden of proof under the county ordinance is by a preponderance of the evidence, which is a civil standard, which means it's more likely than not. And the option of writing either one, I think, will depend upon the evidence available. The other thing that you should understand is that hearsay is not permissible in a criminal trial. And so if their witnesses are from Corvallis or Washington State or someplace else, they have to be subpoenaed. If they're from out of state, there's an out-of-state subpoena process that requires that it be a felony. These are not felonies even under state law. And so the rendition process for witnesses is not going to apply beyond the state of Oregon. It's expensive to bring witnesses in to testify. This is county money that is spent for these purposes. And so the county isn't going to start paying for mileage from, let's say, Sisters, Oregon, and doesn't want to. Ergo, the simplified procedure without any possibility of jail time under the ordinance is that the trial could be held by, or the defense can be held and utilize sworn statements, which is also permitted, oral testimony by telephone, which is not permitted under state law for criminal violations, and all the other associated protections of the Bill of Rights and our own state constitution on criminal trials does not apply here. It is a civil standard. And so therefore, it gives the district attorney's office and the county sheriff's office the option of writing either the misdemeanor, which takes it into the realm of a trial by jury, a trial by a district judge, a requirement that witnesses appear in court no matter where they're from. And if the witnesses can't appear or be subpoenaed, you have no case. So this is the way of simplifying that process and creating the traffic ticket standard, which is what I call it. Excuse me, I have a phone going off here.
Well, thank you, Wyatt. That's really helpful information. Tom Prohodich has his hand up
There's more,
also.
I think, though, Nancy.
Okay.
In the background, you should also be aware and read the article in the Pioneer, I think it's from this week, concerning the district attorney's office, which would be required to enforce the state law, whether it's filed by the fire marshal or the sheriff's department or the Department of Natural Resources or parks. And that is that the district attorney's office is in, this is my description for it, disarray. The county attorneys, or the county has instigated an investigation of certain practices of the district attorney's office with respect to the fact that the employees in the office, not the district attorney, but the employees are county employees. And the findings of the county commissioner are that there is I would call it a situation where there's a lack of professionalism in the office. There's a lack of training in the office. There is a lack of adherence to certain standards set forth in the prosecution or prosecution standards. And there is, in fact, some, although this isn't within the purview of the county, some violations with respect to the handling of how witnesses are to be, not witnesses, victims are to be dealt with as a matter of state law. So in effect, you have a county district attorney's office that is not functioning like it should. And to tie it up with matters of, let's say, Class C or B misdemeanors, which will take the much lower priority than violent crime, is probably asking a whole lot at this point. I will just tell you that with the exception of not adding a curfew, which I think is a wonderful idea, to me, the ordinance is a matter of practicality and giving everybody the option to decide whether it's provable under a criminal conviction standpoint and burden of proof versus a levying of a civil fine gives an option for fireworks enforcement, which has probably not been there before. The other aspect of this thing, as you should understand, is the state fire marshal has employees that are probably number no more than 10. They have each of them a district, not a specific responsibility for a given area other than their district. And the sheriff's department doesn't have the personnel to patrol the beaches, and neither does the parks. So the idea that somehow or another we're going to have appropriate law enforcement is not going to happen. However, a citizen who calls it in and a fireworks complaint can sign a sworn statement or a statement to the sheriff's department, and they can make a decision about whether to file it as a provable misdemeanor or as a county ordinance violation, which doesn't require that somebody see them light the fireworks. Circumstantial and hearsay evidence is admissible and therefore far more convenient and expeditious. A jury trial will take someplace in the neighborhood of 6 to 12 months after it's requested. So you don't have speedy trial, except at the defendant's option. And so it is a matter of practicality that the county has adopted this. I think it's a good idea.
To go to the Class C misdemeanor.
Yeah,
you think the ordinance is good?
I don't think we should take a position on whether the ordinance itself is appropriate as opposed to saying, wouldn't you like to add a curfew?
Okay. Thank you, Wyatt, for that input. I'm seeing now there's a whole bunch of stuff in the chat that I wasn't seeing before. And we've got Tom Propadich and Tom. Sure. Tom Sipe also said he wanted to speak.
Well, it helps to have Wyatt, who has criminal law background. He's convinced me that that reducing the fine to one that's essentially determined by preponderance of the evidence that's non-criminal probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But I think that we ought to take the position that there are fireworks that are legal and there are fireworks that are illegal. And the legal fireworks in the state of Oregon, according to the fire marshal, are not limited to include, but are not limited to novelty devices, wheels, flitter sparklers, fountains, smoke devices, and ground spinners. And the illegal ones are lanterns, missiles, rockets, firecrackers, cherry bombs, M80s, Roman candles, and bottle rockets. And we ought to take the position that we support the ordinance.
Yes.
But we would like to see the ordinance enforced, and to try to enforce violations of what are illegal fireworks as defined by the state. As to witnesses, I don't think we have a problem with witnesses, but because we're all witnesses. I mean, I've been down there when they've been
particular perpetrator.
Well, you know, you go down there and you take pictures and you try to determine, you try to accumulate evidence of who's doing this. And at the very least, it becomes a matter of moral persuasion that, you know, we're upset with this. We would like the county to enforce it. We're going to submit sworn statements to the county to the extent that we can determine who's responsible for them. I don't think that we should just give up.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And Brian Batchelder in the chat, I'm going to go through the listing on the chat here in order. So Carol had written, could the ordinance restrict fireworks to July 4th? Fireworks go on for a week to 10 days. Brian says we had fireworks for at least 3 weekends after July 4th last year. Brian says Oregon law already bans fireworks at all beaches. I think the question will be, will the county enforce on beaches also? Brian says they will need to deputize a bunch of citizens. In Tom's site, you would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Nancy. Basically, Wyatt pretty much stole my thunder.
Okay.
The point I'd like to make that it's much more likely to have some actual enforcement happen if there's not a lot of overhead to the enforcement. If it's a matter of writing a ticket as opposed to proving a legal case, it's going to be much more likely that we'll actually have some level of enforcement, which in my mind is an improvement.
Okay, thank you. By the way, this is being recorded, and also AI is recording as well. And so we are capturing, even if I'm not writing all of your comments at the moment. Thank you, Tom, Sipe and Tom, both Toms, Tom 1 and 2, on our bylaws stuff. Okay, thank you. Rand says, if we publish a note to the public regarding this ordinance, we should advise those who will use fireworks that are illegal to decide before the event who will get the citation. Most likely the ones who bought them, but ... And Rand says, without training, citizen deputies are in danger by approaching intoxicated fireworks groups who often threaten them, and even based on past testimony, turn the fireworks on them. Oh, wow. Have you seen? Now that would qualify as a criminal act there.
Well, in northern Tillamook, well, I think it was the North Coast community. It might have been, anyway, they burned a deputy's car. They burned their...
Really?
Yeah, they were
God.
drunk and they had fireworks and they said, forget it, and we don't like what you're saying, and we're going to burn your truck. So, I mean, it gets pretty wacky out there.
Yeah. So it sounds like from the ordinance, they're giving the option of having it as a Class C violation, but they still could charge a misdemeanor or a felony depending on the circumstances, correct?
On the escalation, yeah.
There is
Right.
no felony, Nancy, unless there's an arson involved.
That's what I meant. Like if there was an attack on a deputy's car or person.
Yeah.
I see your hand, Susan. I'm going to continue reading and then we'll call
Yeah,
on you.
no
Thank you.
worries.
Carol says, I would prefer an ordinance similar to Lincoln City's ban. Strongest arguments are fire danger, sound pollution, and beach debris. It would be easier to enforce since it is a clear line instead of a blurred line. Thank you, Carol. And Candace says, I support that law enforcement should be able to issue citations with high fines. So are you saying higher fines than is proposed, Candace?
Yeah, I say that because a lot of times these groups, which another group that we stopped at 4 PM who were shooting off aerials, was staying at one of the renters where they can have like 3 or 4 families. So if you have these fines that are $400, they just pitch in because we asked them how much they spent. We saw the box of fireworks. He said, oh, we spent about $2,500 on these fireworks. Mm-hmm. So a fine of like $165 is nothing to those people. So the higher they are, I think it's going to, if it hits their wallet, that'll count. And also giving a citation, once that starts, that news starts getting out, people would be less hesitant to buy their $3,000 box of fireworks. So
yeah. So I'm wondering, Wyatt, you may be able to answer that. Is the reason that the fines are so low, is that just part of what would be allowed in statute under a Class C violation?
That would be my guess, Nancy, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, thank you. Susan? Thank you
Yeah,
for
so
waiting.
I just have a question about the difference, if we're accommodating for the difference between a permitted fireworks show like the Pirellius family on the beach versus people who come and visit and, you know, shoot off fireworks, or people who live here that shoot off fireworks. Because I would hate to see us endorse something like this and then be viewed as the Grinch for canceling the 250th celebration of the United States with the Pirellius family that already has the permitting in place for this 4th of July.
Right. I think that's one reason some of the language was to be illegal or unpermitted. So absolutely. Very good point. Thank you. And then Brian has a comment about STRs, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you all can. But that is one of our questions about, and I did ask Sarah about that because that definitely falls under community development and what she said on that is that that they could look at actually adding a fireworks thing specifically to the SDR contract. Obviously not right away, but soon. But that they already have in the contracts with the STR owners that they have to that the redders are obligated to follow all county ordinances and state ordinances. So it would be included from that perspective, but there could be more that's put in. So that's something I think she's planning to come in and talk to us in July about STR updates and enforcement. So that would be something to bring up there as well. Okay, Wyatt, I add that sometimes it is impossible to tell who bought or even possessed or set off the fireworks when there are 8 persons around the area or even children possessing or setting them off. We should ask the county to include parental responsibility in a curfew. Okay, excellent. Thank you. We will add all these in, even if I'm not typing. And Carol, drone shows are the future. We can celebrate without traditional fireworks. I'm not sure why explosions similar to war are considered a celebration. Yeah, and apparently Lincoln City, I did do a little research there. Lincoln City had a drone show last year with about 200 drones and apparently got a lot of complaints that it didn't feel as much of a celebration. And that's why they've gone back to having a fireworks show. But they did move the fireworks show from Siletz Bay to Devil's Lake just to try to make it less of an issue. Some of these concerns less of an issue, apparently, in terms of wildlife and the population around Siletz Bay. So, Candace?
Yeah, just one other comment. I think since they banned fireworks in Lincoln City, all those people are coming down here on July 4th. Bringing their own fireworks because they know they can shoot them off here. That's what I've noticed too.
Even though our fireworks can't be shot off either, right? They have to be permitted.
But they
the only thing allowed here are sparklers and the things that Tom Prohadich read off on his list, I think. So I think at this point, who just raised their hand? I see a hand raised with a 1 next to it.
It's me, and I'll try to make it quick.
Okay, thank you.
I think that, well, first of all, whoever did these questions, and I see that Nancy's made them grow while we've been talking, and the community plan statement, they're all excellent. And this is you're asking the right questions. There's no question about that. I think that particularly given Wyatt's discussion, what we're looking at is probably a multi-year process of trying to control fireworks. And at the very least, and I would vote for we take something to the county, expressing perhaps support for the ordinance, but this is what we would like this is what we'd like the ordinance to say. For example, this is what's legal and this is what's illegal. If you look at and maybe it does because I haven't read the proposed ordinance, but Sheriff Brown, if that's his name, lays out some of what's illegal, and at the same time come up with a statement from the NCAC that's sent out to everybody, to all property owners, all members within the NCAC jurisdiction, that says this is our position. And if it in fact is our position, that we'd like to see greater restrictions and control of fireworks use. But anyway, that's my thought. I think, first of all, as you've done a very good job, I haven't been involved in this because I've been involved in other things in the community. But whoever's come up with the questions and the community plan language has done an excellent job. But I think we need to press it, and that we need to, I think part of this is moral persuasion. I really do. It's like, this is the community that we would like. This is the way we would like fireworks to be treated. If you don't want to do this, at least know that this is legal and illegal, and we're not happy about it.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I think you raised some excellent points, and I've been leaning similarly to that, but you know, my vote doesn't count so much. But yeah, once we get some of these comments through, I like your idea. This is a multi-year effort. Really, that's a great thing, because this ordinance doesn't give us a lot of time, but we could continue with some of these. So Rand says that Robin Crowell, who's the president of the NCA, the Nesquin Community Association, emailed him to say that the community meeting, which is on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, might be a good time to address this question. We have prior input at our past meetings, and the NCA had managed fireworks years ago. We decided with the community not to support input, not to support fireworks. Rand, do you want to talk a little more about this?
Yeah, so we had, it's a public meeting. It's one of the bigger public meetings we have on the two beginning and end of summer. Excuse me. And so we asked, we polled the public at that meeting, and overwhelmingly said, we're done with it. But most of the people who attend that meeting are 55 or older, and
Right.
25 years earlier, they might have voted the other way. But that was, it was pretty evident in the meeting at the NCA Memorial Day meeting that they were done with it. But
By being done with it, mean that they didn't like it. Is that what
they
you meant?
didn't care for the continued fireworks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. So, so, and I see your hand, Wyatt. After we talk to Wyatt, I think what I would like to propose is taking this input, deciding that we are going to call the membership meeting for the 23rd, discussing and having a letter ready that we discuss in our May 20th board meeting to take to the membership and getting input. And then from that membership meeting, take our position that's similar to what, in my mind at least, similar to what Tom Prohodich is suggesting, and what all of you have been suggesting about supporting the ordinance in general, with the following caveats that we'd like to see, and listing what those caveats are. So, so that's kind of where I'm leaning. What do you all? I think there's okay. So it's Wyatt. Why don't you speak, and then why don't we talk about at this point an action plan?
Yeah, just as a follow-up to Tom's comment, I think it's a great idea. The moral suasion issue is really, I think, the key to it is getting people to follow it. But more specifically, one of the things that we also have a problem with is beach fires, which we can't control no matter what. But I think if you made a request of the fire district to put the rescue unit on the beach at 10 o'clock that night, or whatever time you choose to do that, because beach fires are going to be a problem, and drive up and down the beach for an hour or two. And I think when people see an emergency vehicle, they have a tendency to pull back. And that might be something that will create some kind of a moral suasion, I guess is the best way I would put it. But I think that would have to come as a request from the committee.
Okay, thank you. And so from us, separately from this ordinance thing.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's another thing to talk about then in our board meeting next week as well. Do you think they would do it, Wayne? I know you're a volunteer firefighter.
Well, I think they like to show their equipment off, and frankly,
it'd be a deterrent, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we've got a brand new rescue unit down there that's beach capable.
Do you? Okay, that's
Yep.
cool. All right, thank you. And that would be the Nesquin Fire Department. Is that what it's called?
No.
No.
It would go through the fire district, the chief.
Okay. All right.
And
Thank you.
Eagle.
We'll talk.
You can
Okay.
always turn the fire hose on the group.
No, Rand, no.
That was the
Okay.
old fire department. What you said.
That was the old fire department.
All right. The people on the phone, would you like to weigh in on anything here at this point, or anyone else who hasn't spoken before we start talking about a potential action plan here? Okay, I am not hearing any objection. It sounds like this is a hot issue. Alex?
I've been listening and nodding my head in the car, not too vigorously because I am driving. But I think all of those questions are great, and I certainly support where everyone is leaning. Getting this in front of membership, but also getting back to the commissioners saying, hey, what about adding this? Because I think these are legitimate concerns that aren't mentioned at all in the current wording.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So I guess what I'm kind of hearing emerging through this is an agreement that we should go ahead and hold. We shouldn't ignore it and just publicize to our members that they could one alternative is to not have an official answer from the NCAC and allow our members to just respond on their own. So we still don't have to decide to do that till we have the membership meeting, but we do need to decide today if we're going to hold a membership meeting. So I think I'm hearing general consensus that we would like to have a membership meeting, and that we would have time between now and May 20th to come up to assimilate these comments, get answers from the sheriff and or the commissioners about some of the questions we don't have answers for yet, although I think we got a lot of helpful information today as well. But we could draft something that we could discuss in our board meeting to take then to the membership on May 23rd. How does that sound as a plan?
Yep.
Okay. I also want to thank the Community Plan Subcommittee for their work on this. I think that's been really helpful, Ren, and your committee, Tom. And there was a comment made to me by an individual that it is generational, that when they were 30 years ago, they were on the beach with fireworks, and now they're one of the people on the beach objecting to the fireworks. That sometimes it's young families who want to have them, and we can't ignore that we have some members who really like fireworks, right? So we just need to make sure they're safe and that they're following the law, right? So
well,
anyway,
to Susan's point, there are legal fireworks,
right?
And they're illegal fireworks, and the distinction's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right.
Though, to the extent that you're, I would say 50 years younger than I am, when I really enjoyed fireworks, you can still do your July the 4th celebration.
Yeah.
Right.
Even
you can all go to
pictograph with legal and illegal. That would just, let people know, because I think people are opposed in a sense of canceling
right.
The 4th of July, and that's what it can come across like when you say, oh, we don't want fireworks.
Right.
Informing.
Right. I did ask Sarah if there were any plans with the county to have a special countywide fireworks celebration or drone celebration or something for the 250th, anniversary of the founding of the U.S. And she did not know of anything like that in our county. So I don't know if any of you have heard of anything. But, we can all go to Lincoln City, celebrate on the Devil's Lake. But anyway, I guess then could we have a motion to approve holding a membership meeting on May 28th at 1:30, since Farmers Market will be on. May 23rd, Saturday, May 23rd at 1:30 via Zoom to discuss. It'd be a special membership meeting to discuss this fireworks ordinance.
I would so move, Nancy.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rand. Seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, I guess the discussion I would have would be that we'll, after this motion is done, appoint 2 or 3 people to draft a letter that takes into account a lot of the discussion today. And we can send that out to all of you, plus post it in a folder to be discussed at the regular board meeting on May 20th. So any other discussion? Okay, this is for the board. All those in favor of the motion to call for a special membership meeting on May 23rd at 1:30 to consider a possible official position on the proposed fireworks ordinance, please say aye.
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 Okay,
It's just
all opposed say
Aye.
no. Yeah, all opposed say no. Any opposed? With our new voting things with Zoom, if anyone says no, then we will have a voice vote or a hand count or something. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And thank you all for your time today. If you have any further information, please send an email to admin or info at, the info website. And at this point, I'm going to appoint myself and Wyatt, if he's willing.
Yeah, I can write letters.
Okay. And would anyone else like to be a part of that? You don't have to be a member of the board to help with drafting an official position.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I'll help.
Okay. Okay.
You can do it while you're out on safety patrol on the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
Wyatt and Nancy are going to take the lead. I'll just look.
You're going to proof it, right, Tom?
That's right.
And well, I think you met Tom Sipe. Are you going to? Oh, okay. Well, I think I heard Tom Sipe say something. I think in terms of Oregon public meeting law, we are okay since it's 2 board members. And if Tom Sipe, if you wanted to join us to help proof, you're welcome to. That would be 2 board members and 2 non-board members. So we're okay with that. Okay. Okay. So if there's no objection, I will appoint Wyatt Angelo, Tom Prohodich, Tom Sipe, and myself to draft a position statement. Any objections? Okay.
I'm only doing it because somehow you roped Wyatt into being the bylaws committee subcommittee chair.
He jumped at the chance.
It's a freight train rolling down the track, Tom.
Pretty much the entire bylaws committee, since Tom Sipe is on the executive board at the moment. So.
Yeah, really.
And Tom Sipe is basically so busy doing editor for two subcommittees. Yeah. So anyway, Wyatt jumped at the chance. Yeah, we are grateful he did.
Yeah, there wasn't a window to jump out of.
All right. Any further discussion on this topic? Well, thank you all for your time today very much. I think the input was terrific. I think, I do have another, let's see, comment from Carol. At least this is a start. I think the board should take Wyatt and Tom's advice and support the ordinance, emphasizing support for enforcement. Thank you, Carol, for that as well. So we do have all of your email addresses. I will, when we have this draft, I will send it out to all of you, as well as we'll let the community know about this. Candace, I'll draft a announcement for you to send out. We'll need to send that out today for the 14-day notice for the membership meeting if you have time. So I'll talk to you after. Okay. I think other than that, meeting adjourned at 11:04 a.m.
Hey, Nancy, could you send Michael my phone number? I can't find his email address.
I will. I'll do that.
He can call me.
Yes, I'll do that.
About South Beach.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well facilitated, Nancy. Thank you.
Yes,
okay, well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I'm going to stop recording. Yes, everybody.
All right.